I still haven't quite perfected filming those short little clips for intros yet, so you could really say that I'm taking an L on things, but in reality today I'm going to be talking about the three-legged thing, L bracket. I know a lot of photographers like to do copy things for their intros, especially one of the more famous ones, but I think it's just a coincidence that I also love to drink coffee. I've been drinking it every day since my sophomore year of high school. So I'm not trying to copy them, it's just the way things are. So if you don't know what an L bracket is, it's basically an L-shaped bracket, because duh, but where you put it is, you put it on the bottom of your camera because it's what helps attach your camera to your tripod, and this was made because there's one issue that photographers run into a lot when they're using their standard tripod bracket, and everyone knows what I'm talking about when I show them this. My tripod legs are so grimy with sand, salt, and dirt from over the years that it takes me a while to do this. This is too tall. That's better. Other camera. So this is where the L bracket comes in handy because every photographer in the world has dealt with this exact issue. I'm just gonna move this so you guys can see the camera a little bit better. So the issue that I'm talking about is a lot of times when you're shooting on a tripod, you're typically flat or horizontal, but sometimes you need to go vertical to get that portrait shot. And then you turn your camera to the side, and then sometimes it just never lines up perfectly. It might be slanted, it might be angled, it might not be flat even. And so this is where the L bracket comes in. So with L bracket, you can quickly go from like this orientation, unscrewing this quickly, and then just flipping it, and then you know you got a perfectly up and down photo to get that perfect straight on headshot. Now depending on how you shoot, this little piece of equipment will have advantages and disadvantages depending on what camera you have and how you plan on using it. Alright, to attach this guy to a camera, you'll notice that at the bottom of it, it's got this little piece right here that slides back and forth. That's the screw that you use to find the bottom of your camera and screw it into. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just slide over your camera. Most cameras will have a little screw right here. If not, all of them should have a little screw right here for a tripod mount. You just find where that is, line up the screw, make sure the L bracket is at the edge of the camera, and just gently screw it in. And then use a little tool to make sure it's super tight. And then yeah, you should be all set with that. And then on the side of the L bracket, it still keeps the panel open so that if you have to access the little flaps on the side to plug in headphones, a power thing, a jack, a time thing, you can still get into these without having to worry about the L bracket getting in the way. And there really are no disadvantages to having this on a DSLR. Now the disadvantages of an L bracket come into play once you start getting smaller with your camera body size. The perfect body size is a Canon DSLR Mark III or anything similar to it. Now if we go down to the mirrorless EOS R for Canon, you're going to start to see some of the disadvantages. So I'm going to switch cameras right now so I can show you the difference between the two and how the size of the L bracket really comes into play when you put it on a smaller body. So now when you go to put the L bracket on a smaller camera like a mirrorless, I'll show you the issue that we might run into real quick. It really doesn't seem like anything's off or anything's going to cause an issue, but let's say you're shooting and you're running out of juice and you need a new battery, and then you go and you look, oh, that sucks, you can't get to your battery because the L bracket is preventing the latch from opening all the way, so you can't switch your battery if the L bracket's all the way on. So that's a pretty big disadvantage when it comes to using an L bracket on a smaller body camera. So then I'll show you guys what I typically do when I run into this issue. So I typically will leave some space between the L bracket and the camera so that I can still access the battery pouch if I need to switch batteries. And like the improvising allows me to not only be able to grip my camera with my right hand right here, but then I now have an extra handle to hold my camera if I'm trying to get really steady movement and I don't have a camera strap on it to use that as support. So the one thing that does take some time to get used to when you're using an L bracket is that typically when you mount your camera on your tripod, the default bracket that comes with it always mounts perfectly aligned, facing forward. Now with the L bracket, since it's going across the bottom of the camera this way, you can't mount it straight on like this. You always have to make sure that your mount is turned to the side. And then you have to mount your tripod almost like the opposite kind of way. And then the only frustrating thing is you have to like take 1 second to make sure it's actually aligned in the center, because since this is such a long column on the bottom, that when you put it down on your tripod, it's not always going to be perfect. So you always just need to take that extra second just to make sure that the camera lines up evenly on the top of your tripod. So then it really comes down to, do you want to take the extra second to make sure that this is perfectly aligned in the center? Or do you want to have the issue of when you turn it to the side that it's going to be off-centered or not straight? So that comes down to, it's basically you're solving one problem but creating a slightly smaller one. But in the long run, having an L bracket makes a huge difference. So one thing I do like that three-legged thing provides is a little tool for your bracket. It basically has the L-shaped hexagonal L bracket tool, that's what I call it, and then also has a nice flat straight edge for you. So that way the majority of the mounts that are going to be put on your tripod, you have the ability to unscrew and attach. Now what I mean is that the tripod that I'm using, it only has like the L bracket screw that you need the little hexagonal shaped tool for. Then DJI, it's got the just the straight line that you need a Phillips head screwdriver to screw and unscrew. And then the three-legged thing, their screws are literally the combination of those two. So this little tool basically helps you take on and put off, said those backwards. So this little tool helps you take off and put on almost any bracket or tripod head that you need to attach to the bottom of your camera. So that's about it for this video. Just a quick little summary of an L bracket, mainly for people that don't really know what they are. But if you have a shot or a clip that you believe you got because you had your L bracket, I'd love to see it and then maybe even feature it or show it in my next video, which would be pretty sweet to start doing with all my reviews. Just kind of like as little shout outs for people that support the page and just kind of help me grow as a photographer on my own. So see you all next time. And as always, let's recap. I had to find this one.